All right, welcome back to Two Super Gas Trade Stocks. I'm Vinny.
I'm Dylan. Today we're going to look up, is your Chinese investment safe, and is now the time to buy BABA? Okay, we're not going to the fundamentals. Already have a video on that. It's with all this crazy Chinese stuff happening. Should you invest?
Exactly. Yeah, I'll link the BABA video above if anyone wants to check it out. Yeah, with that, we'll get to it.
Two Super Guys Trade Stocks.
All right. If you guys enjoy this entertaining stock market content, please give us a like and subscribe below. We'd love having you guys here. So, very interesting.
Yeah. So basically, here's just going to be the format. So I don't want to waste anyone's time, but basically, it's what is China doing right now? What have they been doing? So we'll just go over some quick past stuff, all that. There's a takeover strategy by China that's been proposed by a Harvard Law professor. And what is the U.S. doing about it? And this is very time sensitive because a law just passed and a new bill just went through the Senate to make it worse for potential investors. So we'll go over that and then our recommendations.
Yeah, perfect. All right. So,
all right.
Some common ones there, huh?
Yeah, you recognize any of those?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm personally in BABA. Own I think 21 shares, so I definitely recognize that one. It's a little near and dear to my heart there. But
so those are all the ones that I recognize and I kind of mess with, especially in day trading. The only one I'd ever hold is BABA and PDD. But NEO, XPEV, LI. A good way that people look at this is BABA is the Amazon, NEO is the Tesla, and there's all these different ones. Diddy is the Uber.
Yep.
So. Anyways, the recent news that just happened, Vinny. Beijing plans to turn education stocks into non-profits just like that. Sucks for you.
Yeah.
Cal Education Corp, down 55%. New Oriental Education, down 62%. Gaoto Tech EDU, down 60%.
I'm surprised it's not 100% actually if they're truly going private. So maybe some people are still holding on hope. I don't know.
Well, that was just then. They might drop to 100%. But imagine you live in a country where there's Apple. We get 40% of your business now, right? I feel like people don't fully grasp the communist nature of China and how risky it is to have those investments. Because if you invest in any American company, you do not have any of these risks. They are not relevant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the entire government takeover is not something that you can anticipate happening here, even with some political thought processes, but very unlikely.
Way to navigate that.
Yeah, exactly.
So this happened a little bit ago. Diddy's the Uber of China, basically. China's Cyberspace Administration suspended the registration of new users from the company 2 days after its IPO. Okay, I have the photo below that. You see the green arrow. We're just chilling right at the IPO price. Boom.
Yeah.
Drops $18. We're now at $10. So we've almost lost 50% value.
So do you think this gap is going to fill at some time?
No, I don't. Especially because China apparently is trying to hold on to Diddy's data because they believe that data controls people. And it's really, really iffy. So they literally can't get new business until they agree to do some stuff. It's really messed up.
Did you see the great Jim Cramer whipsaw about Didi?
No.
Yeah, right when I made its IPO, he said basically you should be buying every share you can get a hold of. And then a week later, he's like, you just can't trust these guys.
Yeah, so he lost money.
Yep.
This was a little bit earlier. HK, it was just a Chinese telecoms company. It was banned, I think it was December, due to ties to the Chinese military, early January. And Luckin Coffee, this one's old. They just put that they had a bunch of sales just to do a pump and dump and lied because we're not allowed as Americans to look at their financial documents. So that wasn't great.
Yeah, no. This was definitely quite a news story when it happened. Pretty scary. Very, very Enron-esque, if you will.
Yeah.
So we've had our own problems. So, it's not entirely Chinese, but
it's true. That's true. Jack Ma. Okay. So this is the last example I'll throw up there, but Jack Ma this is the scariest one to me because it's like Bill Gates, right? If Bill Gates said our government sucks, nothing's going to happen. Guaranteed. He could say whatever he wants. Really, anyone here can say whatever they want, to be honest. But this guy spoke out against China, criticizing Chinese financial regulators, and accused China banks of behaving like pawn shops on that you have to have collateral, get anything. That was in October. Okay. Timeline, everyone already knows this. He went missing, shows up 3 months later in a really weird hostage video thing where he has like no emotion on his face. He's like, I'm going to devote myself to public welfare. There's like a 40-second video. It was really awkward. Yikes. He lost the Ant Group IPO in December because the government can just be like, nah, we decided not to let you do it. Baba was fined $2.8 billion for anti-monopoly charges. That one kind of made sense because they were definitely doing non-compete things. So,
yeah, exactly. I completely support that fine. It makes perfect sense. Would have happened here too.
That one's fairly logical. I believe, weren't they like telling their listers that they can only list with them and no one else?
Exactly. Yeah, they had to be mutually exclusive.
Yeah, completely. That's just on the timeline. Not in support of the Chinese corruption. But days after that, the Ant Group was in order to overhaul its operations and become a financial holding company with direct supervision from the Central Bank of China, i.e. Central Bank of China now owns Ant Group, if you're wondering.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that there's a lot of rumors around the fact that they're supposedly going to use the Ant Group to basically push out their, digital yuan currency. So ultimately, the Ant Group could end up in a position, and ultimately Jack Ma and Alibaba shareholders, to benefit from some of this government involvement with Ant Group. But we'll see.
I don't think Jack Ma benefits from anything from here on out. No. He's been seen like 5 other times. He was seen at one social event in May. May as in 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good, dude.
Yeah, I don't know how public he was prior to this kind of interaction with the Chinese government, Chinese Communist Party.
He's doing talk shows all the time. He's doing like lessons and speeches, and I don't know. This is fishy.
Interesting. All right. Oh, all right. Scary.
So, not saying that these are going to get delisted, but what happens, right? Institutional investors, they can convert to Hong Kong listed shares. Hedge funds can simply just choose to own shares on the mainland China exchange and not have ADRs. They have way more. They have way more. Resources. If it happens to you, you're screwed. You can take the loss, or you could try to seek out a foreign broker. It's not a great process.
Yeah, you can try. Yeah, Citigroup is like the holding agent for Alibaba shares, and theoretically you could convert them to some of the Hong Kong exchange. But I understand there's some tax implications for that, and also like Americans are not directly allowed to own these Chinese institutions, so you'd have to do it through like some sort of entity. I don't know the logistics of how you make that work, but it is theoretically possible.
So a Cayman Islands sort of thing is what you're saying.
Yeah, which is actually where I'm moving to anyways. Might as well, right? Yeah.
Interesting. All right, nexties.
So I wanted to bring up this point. Like, people talk about these, American depository receipts and whether or not, their kind of structure. And there's a lot of them that are very common out there. Particularly like if you look at this list here, there's some household names like Toyota's ADR, Royal Dutch Shell. Budweiser is a ADR. So yes, I understand the Chinese ones have specific risks associated with them, but there are a lot of ADRs out there that we wouldn't even think twice about their corporate structure.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I'm mostly just talking about Chinese because they're a communist country. I feel very, very safe, like owning TSMC, for instance. I have no problem with that. I feel safe with that one.
Yeah, that's probably the one on that list that actually makes me the most worried because the Chinese still claim ownership of Taiwan.
I feel safe with that one. I feel safe with anything from Japan too. They're not from Japan. They're from Taiwan. I feel safe with Taiwan. So we can
All right.
So, this is a Chinese takeover strategy. Jesse Fried is a professor at Harvard University. I said that earlier, but basically Chinese companies, they can get negative news and the share price plummets. Owners of said Chinese company, along with rich Chinese investors, buy all the ADR shares at a discount and then relist them in China, making, frankly, a shit ton of money. Right? Baba is not going. You're not going to be able to do this. Baba's way too big, right? But Diddy, you could. It's possible. Okay, especially after the 50% loss in market cap. Baba's like $1 trillion, and they're not $1 trillion company, but they should be. It's too much. It's too capital intensive, right? Hit a little click for me. A lot of you are thinking, this is far fetched. So this actually already happened. Kehoe 360 in late 2015, the company announced a deal to be taken private after strings and strings of bad news. They bought the shares for $9.3 billion and then just relisted in Shanghai and made $56 billion almost immediately. So the CEO alone made $12 billion.
Perfect.
It's not like a far-fetched thing. It literally already happened.
Yeah. Okay? Yeah, holding foreign companies accountable. I remember this.
Yeah. So, okay. Everyone pay attention. This I went through all these stupid documents, and now I know how I feel so bad for senators after having to read a bill. This is the worst thing in the world. This took me like 2 hours. So, and Donald Trump signed this HFCA Act in December 2020. It is law. Okay. So the Holding Foreign Companies Accountable Act will require the SEC to prohibit trading of securities of foreign companies in the U.S. markets, China, not really foreign markets. Everyone else complies after 3 consecutive years of non-inspection. Okay. So the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, the PCAOB, which is I'm going to say from now on, determines it cannot inspect a company or audit its work financial papers, and that counts as a non-inspection year. 2022 is when this starts. So by that logic, 2025 is 3 consecutive years of non-inspection. You are delisted. Mm-hmm. Okay. That is an actual law. That is into law right now. That is how this is going to go.
Well, I mean, it could be repealed, but yes.
It could be repealed. However, it was also passed unanimously across both parties. Don't think it's going to be repealed.
Yeah, I doubt it too. But I'm saying theoretically, it could be before 2025. But
it could, yeah. But these companies will be required to submit certain documents to establish that they are not owned or controlled by a government entity in a foreign jurisdiction. Think about that.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
Sounds very like Chinese boards.
Yes. So I like to put this in stupid guy girl terms because it helps me. Foreign-owned companies must be able to prove that they are neither owned nor controlled by a foreign government. China is already known for putting government officials on various boards of wealthy companies. See Ant Group. Literally already happening, right? They are now under direct supervision of the Chinese Central Bank. Okay. And to make this worse, on Wednesday, 3/24/2021, the SEC stated that the Chinese companies will have to name each board member who is a Chinese Communist Party official. Already in like their rules, it's already happening. Okay. They must submit financial statements for review and up to American standards by the PCAOB. That group, I already forgot what that stands for, right? It has to be them, no one else. Currently, the Chinese government does not allow United government auditors in their stuff in any way whatsoever due to data risk.
Yeah. It's actually Chinese law that they do not allow the PCAOB to review any of their organizations.
Exactly. Problem. So you have one law of China saying they're not allowed to do this, and our law is like, well, if we don't do this, you're not going to be traded here.
Yeah.
So problem. And the problem gets worse.
We have one of those standoffs.
Yeah, and now the deadline just got shortened. June 22nd, this just happened a month ago. The Senate passed a bill unanimously to move up by 1 year the congressionally mandated deadline to delist foreign companies unless the yada yada. Okay, so now instead of 3 years, it's now 2 years. So already this happened in December, and they're like, "This is a great idea. Let's give them 3 years." Halfway in, they're like, probably suspiciously around this whole Ma thing, they're like, 2 years. We're doing 2 years. Unanimous approval. That is a problem if you own Chinese stocks.
Yeah. It is a very real risk, that's for sure. One kind of point I wanted to bring up here, though, is, people have talked a lot about, potential financial indiscretions and lack of oversight. It's not true. Baba has had an auditor. It is PricewaterhouseCoopers is considered one of the top 4 auditing organizations in the world. They're over $40 billion in revenue in 2019. So they're a good sized company. The problem is that it's their Hong Kong office that does the auditing for Baba and all other Chinese entities. And that Hong Kong office does not comply with the PCAOB and derives, as they say, nearly all of the revenue from the Hong Kong or auditing of Chinese companies. So, it's kind of one of those situations we ran into back in 2008 when, you had Moody's and all the other rating agencies that were being paid these fees to give these, mortgage-backed securities, a AAA rating. So it's certainly one of those situations where, do you trust someone that is kind of beholden to a single entity, and whether or not you can, get bitten by the hand that feeds you kind of sort of situation.
So not good is what you're saying.
Well, I'm saying, it's not clear. It's a little murky because on one hand you have the fact that this is a large, well-respected auditing agency. So is Arthur Andersen, but they're kind of in a situation where they're beholden to the Chinese government and need them in order to derive the revenue for this particular office, the Hong Kong office.
Right. And the problem is, due to the actual law, it has to go through the PCAOB.
Exactly.
Which is a problem.
Yeah. So, PricewaterhouseCoopers, I am still inclined to agree with what they're saying, but the fact of the matter is what they said as far as auditing is not going to be enough. They're going to have to be then themselves audited by the PCAOB, which under Chinese law is not allowed. So it's really going to be a Chinese government versus American government who's going to change the rules. And if no one does at this point, it's going to move forward, and the Chinese companies, including Baba, will likely be delisted by as soon as 2024. But yeah, this is by that PricewaterhouseCoopers. Like I said, 157 different countries, over 700 locations, 284,000 people. This is a good sized company. But this is, a little quote here from a Market Watch article. Most of our operations are conducted in the People's Republic of China, and substantially all our revenue is sourced from the People's Republic of China. That's referring to the Hong Kong office specifically.
Okay. So basically, it's already kind of starting with the changes. So after that Diddy incident that I mentioned earlier, where it was just blatant manipulation, 2 days. You decided to stop downloads and start to do cybersecurity sweeps 2 days after the IPO. Okay, that sounds fair. That's like Branson being like with his space thing. Yeah, we don't have any plans for approval. Plummets 4 days later. Oh yeah, we're gonna do our test flight in 4 days. We forgot to talk about it though. Sorry. Okay.
It turns out it was ready. Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, geez.
Yeah.
So the SEC has temporarily halted all approval of all new Chinese IPOs. There currently cannot be any. That's temporary, but they're kind of just researching on what to do next, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. What are you going to do about it, Dylan? Speaking of what to do next.
One, after reading about all these bills and laws and all this stuff, the only Chinese company I will invest in is Baba. Okay, I am out of all other things. I was never a Neo. That's a horrible idea. I mean, the Tesla's overpriced. Neo's way more overpriced. They sold 20,000 cars. No, I won't get into that. But you could buy a mutual fund or an ETF to lower your risk, because the benefit of doing that with like an institution is, if something did happen, it would be much easier for them to just switch exchanges, and you would be almost covered. You as a retail investor, not covered, right? I really want to see what happens after one inspection year. It's really difficult because Baba just is stupid cheap right now. It's just so cheap. I do think it's actually going to head lower in the next couple months. So I halved my position on Baba. I'm going to wait to see what happens in the next couple months. I am not liking this entire situation. I don't like the standoff. So that's just me. in my opinion, there's 5,000 companies I can invest in that don't have this risk of a China company being delisted. I could easily find one that will go up the same percentage as Baba, so that's where I'm at.
Yeah, no, I completely respect the position. I'm certainly not, at ease over this decision, but right now, Baba's currently about 8% or so of my portfolio. I might add a little bit to it. I'm not going to go nuts. Honestly, there's still talking about a position size where if I completely lost that, yeah, it would have a material effect, but it wouldn't, be completely dramatic or catastrophic to my portfolio. So I know it's a risk. It's a calculated risk. I hope we don't get towards delisting. You're definitely seeing kind of this as a battleground between, I watched Phil Town's video about investing in Chinese stocks, and he talks a little bit about the fact that you're seeing like a changeover in world power almost through this, where the U.S. has become this like large kind of former, still world power, but is on, kind of hit their zenith already and is on like the, plateau or even slight decline phase. And you're seeing China, who's, kind of ascending towards like world power status. And this has become like a little bit of a battleground for them, and that changing of the guard, so to speak. So it's not, I don't love the idea of getting caught in this crossfire. But this number makes too much sense. There's a lot of real prominent value investors, as we're going to talk about here in a second, that have invested in Baba. And, I feel like I'm in pretty good company right now. This is Charlie Munger, Mohnish Pabrai, and this is Phil Town himself, who just recently disclosed a position around 220 or so a share. But I think the numbers are so impressive as far as like discounted cash flow from Baba and their growth. And you're also kind of getting a hedge against like U.S. currency and potential rise of like the yuan as like a global, I know reserve currency is, people are going to like jump down my throat for even considering that, but it could be someday, and it's nice to be hedged against that. And you have this ascending middle class. You have such great storylines as far as like Chinese middle class growth and like the e-commerce, that I'm okay. I think the growth potential there could be so significant that it's worth taking the risk. This through our lifetime could be a 10x possibility.
No, for sure.
But
absolutely. And I'm not really worried about them being delisted because it's one of those too big to happen type of things, because they're just massive. I am worried about other companies, which is why I'm not gonna mess with other Chinese companies. It's just not worth it. The risk is it's just not worth it. I will say though, Charles Munger and who's the other guy?
Mohnish Pabrai.
They were invested before Donald Trump signed that into law in December 2020.
No, Munger's position was first disclosed, I think, on February. I can't remember exactly what time he purchased the shares.
So if Phil Towns, his average is 220, they're all before, because the move up date was literally 3 weeks ago.
Yes, they're all
before that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wonder if that's changed any of their ideas, because they literally moved the whole year and it was unanimous. So it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
They could just be like another one more year and be like, oh, screw it. Now it's 2023.
I know. Well, we'll see. I definitely will be looking at the 13F filings that'll be coming out. We should be hitting 13F filing season pretty soon, and we'll see if any of them have changed their positions at all. But it will be something I'll watch as an indicator. As kind of Phil said, he's like, if you could go to China personally and look at these companies and see if they're performing as you would hope, then you're kind of in a different position. He's like, most individual investors can't do that. He's like, so that's kind of why I would tell them that they shouldn't be investing in them. But a lot of these folks have access to really sophisticated investors over there in China, specifically Lu Li, the Chinese value investor that's prominent, that kind of got Buffett and Munger into BYD, has also apparently been a kind of a Alibaba fan. I'm not sure if he holds a current position, but that's part of the thought process.
Only problem with that logic is if it gets delisted, they have the funds to just change to a foreign broker, and we don't.
True. Very true. All right, guys, let us know down below. See what you guys think. Are you going to hold on to any Chinese stocks? Are you going to sell them out? Run away?
Yeah. Have a good one.
All right. Let's catch you next one.